Okay, just tell me if I'm going crazy. Can you actually block someone you supposedly love, cut them off completely, just because they vented to their best friend? Because that's what Zephyr did. One minute we were living together, the next my number is blocked, my messages don't deliver, and my profile picture on his chat apps has been replaced by that cold, gray, anonymous avatar. All because I told Lyra what he's like. You'd think I'd sold state secrets to a foreign government, not complained about my boyfriend being, well, my boyfriend. You have to understand, Zephyr isn't the type to scream or throw things. I almost wish he were, at least that would be honest. No, he's a craftsman of passive aggression, a sculptor of silent, petty punishments that are designed to make you question your own sanity. It's an art form for him. Let me give you a perfect example. A few weeks ago, I got stuck in that insane downtown traffic and was about 15 minutes late for a dinner he was making. Did he get angry? Did he say, Indigo, I was worried? Or hey, the food's getting cold? Of course not, that would be too simple, too human. Instead, the next morning, my favorite mug, a beautiful hand-thrown piece of pottery I bought on our trip to Asheville, was sitting at the bottom of the kitchen sink, submerged in greasy water with soggy bits of food clinging to it. When I fished it out trying to keep my voice even and asked him what happened, he just blinked with those big, innocent eyes. Oh wow, babe, I'm so sorry. I must have completely missed it when I was loading the dishwasher. He didn't miss it. He has never in the 3 years we've been together missed that mug. It was a message. You inconvenienced me, so I will ruin a small piece of your happiness. It's death by 1,000 tiny, infuriating cuts. And when you try to call him out on it, you're the one who sounds crazy. It's just a mug, Indigo, are you okay? See, it's genius in a sick, twisted way, so yes, I complain to Lyra. She's my best friend, my sanity check. She's the only one who listens and says, no, you're not insane, he's being an asshole. The final straw, the thing that apparently warranted my complete erasure from his life, happened last Tuesday. And okay, I'll admit it, the initial problem was my fault. I was supposed to pay the internet bill and I completely spaced it. My week at work had been a frantic blur of deadlines and putting out fires, and it just slipped my mind. So of course, right in the middle of Zephyr trying to upload a huge file for a freelance project, the Wi-Fi blinked out of existence. He didn't yell, he never does. He just sat there in the sudden, oppressive silence of our apartment. He closed his laptop with a quiet, final thud. The sound echoed in the room. Then he got up, walked to the kitchen, and started making tea. I watched him, my stomach twisting into a cold, hard knot. His movements were infuriatingly precise. He boiled the kettle, opened the cabinet with a soft click, and took out two mugs, his, a plain navy blue one, and mine, the Asheville one. He placed them both on the counter. Then, with a quiet deliberateness that felt like a physical blow, he picked up my mug, looked at it for a second, and placed it back on the shelf. He poured only 1 cup of tea. He didn't even glance at me, that was it. That was the tiny, silent act of war that sent me over the edge. It was so much worse than yelling, it was a dismissal. He was communicating, in no uncertain terms, that I wasn't even worthy of sharing a cup of tea with him. I felt that hot, familiar spike of rage and self-pity. I stormed into our bedroom, slammed the door, a loud, satisfying crack of noise in his silent world, and immediately called Lyra. I didn't reflect on my own mistake. I just needed my fix. Lyra is my validator-in-chief. You will not believe what he's doing now, I started, my voice already trembling with what I wanted her to believe were tears of pain, not fury. I told her about the internet, framing it as a tiny, forgivable slip-up. What did he do? Lyra asked, her voice primed for battle on my behalf. And that's where the story split from reality. I started small. He's giving me the silent treatment. He made tea and pointedly didn't make me any. Classic Zephyr, she said, sympathetic but not outraged. It wasn't enough, I needed more. The truth is, my relationship with Zephyr, for all its silent friction, was stable. Lyra's love life, on the other hand, was a constant five-alarm fire, a rotating cast of men who cheated or lied or ghosted. Her stories were epic, mine were petty squabbles, and in some sick, twisted corner of my mind, I felt like my problems weren't big enough to warrant her full, undivided attention. I wanted just for once to be the one who was truly wronged, so I pushed it further. He said he was just so disappointed in me that I couldn't be trusted with simple things. The lie felt slick and easy on my tongue. Lyra's tone sharpened. He said that over an internet bill, what a condescending prick. The validation was a warm rush and I craved more. I went all in. It was worse than that, Lyra, I whispered, as if the memory was too painful to speak aloud. He just went off on me. He was yelling, saying I was completely useless, that he was sick of having to babysit me and manage my life because I clearly can't handle one simple thing. The words hung in the air, ugly and false. He had never said that, he would never say that, but Lyra didn't know that. All she heard was her best friend in pain. Oh my God, Indai, she gasped, her voice now filled with the pure, righteous fury I had been subconsciously mining for. That is not okay, that's emotional abuse. Forgetting a bill doesn't give him the right to tear you down like that. Hearing her say it, hearing that anger on my behalf felt incredible. Every furious word from her was a brick in the wall I was building around my own failure. In that moment, with Lyra as my witness and my champion, I wasn't a flawed person who had messed up. I was a victim, and it was a much, much more comfortable role to play. As I hung up with Lyra, a wave of relief washed over me. I felt vindicated, justified. But underneath it, a small, cold memory pricked at the edge of my consciousness. I tried to push it away, but it surfaced anyway, unbidden and unwelcome. It was from our first year together. We were sitting on the living room floor of our still new apartment, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes, sharing a cheap bottle of wine straight from the bottle. He was telling me about his last serious relationship, the one that had ended so badly he'd had to move to a different neighborhood. She didn't just break up with me, Zephyr had said, staring at the label on the wine bottle as he turned it in his hands. She launched a smear campaign. We had the same circle of friends, and she started telling them versions of our arguments, twisted versions where I was always the monster. He finally looked at me, and his eyes were dark with a pain that was clearly still raw. She told people I was controlling, that I was emotionally unstable. Lies, small ones at first, then bigger ones. By the time she was done, half of my friends wouldn't even look me in the eye. She assassinated my character to the very people I trusted. He took a shaky breath. Look, Indigo, I can handle arguments, I can handle being wrong. I can handle someone being angry with me. But the one thing I absolutely cannot survive again is having the person I love, the person who is supposed to be my safe harbor, secretly painting me as a villain to the outside world. It's the ultimate betrayal, it's my only real hard line. I remember taking his face in my hands, my heart aching for him. I would never, I whispered, and I meant it with every fiber of my being. You have to know that I would never, ever do that to you. The memory flickered and died. I shook my head, standing in the silence of our bedroom. That was different. His ex had maliciously spread lies throughout their entire friend group. I had just vented to one person, my best friend. It wasn't the same thing, it wasn't the same thing at all. The barbecue was Lyra's idea, of course. A neutral ground, she'd called it. She'd invited a bunch of people from our wider circle of friends to our friend Caleb's place, thinking it would force Zephyr and me to at least be civil. We'd been in a deep freeze for days. We moved around the apartment like ghosts, the silence punctuated only by the clink of cutlery or the closing of a door. It was miserable, and I was starting to feel the first real pangs of regret for my phone call, but I was too proud to admit I'd lied. When we arrived at Caleb's, separately, the tension was immediate. Zephyr was already there, talking to a couple of guys by the grill. He saw me walk in, and his face, which had been relaxed and smiling, became a blank, polite mask. He gave me a tiny, almost imperceptible nod and then turned back to his conversation, deliberately shutting me out. It stung badly. I found Lyra, who immediately wrapped me in a protective hug. How are you holding up? She whispered, glaring daggers at Zephyr's back. Don't worry, I've got you. Before I could even process what she meant, she was marching over to him. My blood ran cold. No, Lyra, wait, I started to say, but it was too late. She was on a mission. She tapped him on the shoulder. Zephyr turned, a burger flipper in his hand, a look of mild surprise on his face. Zephyr, can I talk to you for a second? She asked, her voice dripping with a kind of saccharine sweetness that meant she was about to go nuclear. She pulled him a few feet away, just far enough that they thought no one could hear. But I was frozen in place, watching, my heart hammering against my ribs. I saw her take a deep breath, putting on her best therapeutic I'm on your side voice. Listen, she began. I know things have been tense, but I just want you to know that you can't talk to Indigo that way. It's not acceptable. Zephyr's brow furrowed in genuine confusion. Talk to her what way? We haven't really been talking at all. Oh, don't play dumb, Lyra said, her voice losing its gentle edge. You can't just yell at her and call her useless because she forgot one stupid bill. That's not how you treat someone you love. She's been a wreck all week because of what you said. I watched the color drain from Zephyr's face. It was like watching a series of shutters slam down, one after another. His confusion melted away, replaced by a dawning, horrifying clarity. He didn't look at Lyra. He didn't even seem to register she was still talking. His eyes slowly lifted and found mine across the yard. He stared at me. It felt like he was looking straight through my skin and into the ugly, pathetic part of my soul that had spun that lie. He didn't look angry, he didn't look hurt, he looked resigned. It was a look of profound, bottomless disappointment. It was the look of a man seeing his worst fear, his one hard line, realized in real time. In that single, silent moment, I knew I had done the one thing he could never forgive. He held my gaze for what felt like an eternity, then gave a single, slow nod. It wasn't a nod of agreement, it was a nod of confirmation, a confirmation of my betrayal. Then he dropped the burger flipper on a nearby table with a soft clatter, turned around, and walked out of the party without saying another word. My phone buzzed in my hand before Zephyr's car had even pulled out of the driveway. It was a single, stark text message from him. "We're done, that was it." No explanation, no anger, no room for discussion. A wave of pure, unadulterated panic crashed over me. My fingers fumbled as I tried to call him. The call went straight to voicemail, the automated female voice sounding cruelly cheerful. I tried again, my thumb jabbing the screen. Voicemail. A cold dread, slick and oily, began to creep up my spine, tightening my chest. I opened our WhatsApp chat. His profile picture was gone, replaced by the gray silhouette of an anonymous person. The last message I had sent, a frantic "wait, let me explain," had only one gray checkmark. Not delivered. My hands were shaking as I navigated to his Instagram profile, my feed of his beautiful photography and our happy couple pictures. User not found, he had blocked me. Everywhere, in the space of less than 5 minutes, he had systematically and efficiently excised me from his digital life. It wasn't a messy, emotional breakup. It was a clean, brutal amputation performed with surgical precision. The cheerful sounds of the party, laughter, music, the sizzle of the grill, faded into a dull, nauseating roar in my ears. I felt a dozen pairs of eyes on me, their curiosity like tiny pinpricks on my skin. I could feel the question hanging in the air: what did Indigo do now? Lyra was walking back towards me, her face a mask of triumphant satisfaction, like a warrior returning from a righteous battle. "What was that all about?" Caleb asked, coming over with 2 beers, oblivious. "Zephyr just left without saying goodbye to anyone. Everything okay?" Lyra put her arm around my shoulder, a gesture that was meant to be comforting but felt suffocating. "I just had a little chat with him," she announced to Caleb, her voice full of pride. "Someone had to stand up for you, Indi." My head was spinning. I pulled away from her, my own voice a strangled whisper that was barely audible. "What did you say to him, Lyra? What exactly did you say?" "Just what you told me," she said, her smile finally faltering as she registered the sheer terror on my face. "That he yelled at you, that he called you useless, that he was being emotionally abusive. I told him he needed to treat you better." She looked so proud of herself, so sure of her role as my defender. And that's when the reality check hit me. It wasn't a friend's blunt talk, it was something far worse. It was watching the gears turn in her head as she replayed the conversation, cross-referencing my panicked expression with Zephyr's utter confusion. Her eyes widened, the self-righteous anger draining away, replaced by a dawning, embarrassed horror. Indigo, he looked like he had no idea what I was talking about. He just stared. You didn't tell me the whole story, did you?" She didn't accuse me, she didn't yell. She just took a small step back, her arm dropping from my shoulder as if it had been burned. That small, almost imperceptible movement was a judgment more damning than any angry words could ever be. The physical distance she created was a chasm, a clear line drawn in the sand between her and my toxic bullshit. In that moment, I was utterly alone. The lie I had built for her sympathy had just detonated, taking out not only my relationship, but also the very friendship I had been trying to leverage. The support system I thought I was reinforcing had just crumbled into dust, and I was standing in the ruins, exposed and ashamed. I spent the next 2 weeks in a fog of pathetic desperation. I drove by his office. I left a rambling, tearful voicemail on his mother's phone. I even wrote him a long, rambling letter that I ended up tearing into 100 tiny pieces. Nothing. It was like he had ceased to exist. Finally, today, I forced myself to do the one thing I'd been avoiding: packing his things. It felt like a final admission of defeat. His clothes still smelled like him, a mix of cedarwood and the laundry detergent he insisted on using. Each item, his worn-out band t-shirts, his favorite gray hoodie, the ridiculous socks I bought him for Christmas, was a tiny, painful memory. I was clearing out his side of the closet when I saw it. Tucked away on the top shelf, behind a stack of old sweaters, was a plain manila folder. My heart gave a painful lurch. I pulled it down, my fingers trembling slightly as I opened it. Inside wasn't evidence of some secret life or an escape plan, it was the opposite. It was a meticulously planned, multi-page itinerary for a 3-week trip to New Zealand. There were printouts of hiking trails in Fiordland, booking confirmations for a little cabin on Lake Wakatipu, and a list of restaurants in Wellington he'd bookmarked, with little handwritten notes next to them like, Indi would love this place. The trip was for next March for my 30th birthday. Tucked in the back were the e-ticket receipts for 2 round-trip flights. He'd bought them 6 months ago. He had never said a word. The paper in my hands blurred as my eyes filled with tears. This whole time, I had been painting him as the man who punished me for small mistakes. He had been quietly, secretly, building this beautiful, incredible dream for us. He wasn't just in the relationship. He was building our future while I was busy tearing down our present for a few moments of pathetic validation. Just then, my phone rang. It was another friend, Chloe. I wiped my eyes, took a deep, shuddering breath, and answered, forcing a lightness into my voice I was nowhere near feeling. Hey. What's up? Hey you, she said, her voice cautious. Just checking in, how are you doing with the whole Zephyr thing? And the lie, the last, pathetic defense of my shattered ego, came out automatically. Oh, I'm fine, I said, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. Honestly, it's for the best. I was so sick of walking on eggshells around him. We're just not compatible. On to the next, you know. I hung up the phone and the fake bravado evaporated instantly. I slid down the closet door until I was sitting on the floor, the empty boxes and piles of his clothes surrounding me like a fortress of my own failure. I looked at the New Zealand itinerary in my lap, at the tangible proof of the future I had so carelessly destroyed. And for the first time, with no one to perform for, I finally let myself break completely, my silent sobs echoing in the empty room.